It's 1958, the USSR Championship, arguably the toughest chess tournament on Earth, and tension was at its absolute peak. 5 players, all legends or legends in the making, fighting for just 4 golden tickets to the Interzonal, the gateway to the World Championship. Among them, a young and ambitious Boris Spassky. For him, the equation was brutal. He needed at least a draw to stay alive. A win would have secured his dream. But standing across the board was Mikhail Tal, unpredictable, fearless, and in prime position to win the tournament outright. In the final round, the two collided, Tal versus Spassky, ice versus fire, pressure versus destiny. As the middle game unfolded, Spassky had the edge. Tal, perhaps sensing the danger, offered a draw. What happened next would change the course of both their careers. A decision, a collapse, a crown denied, and a legend born. The USSR Chess Championship wasn't just prestigious, it was a gauntlet. Many believed it was harder to win than the candidates itself. And the 1958 edition? It was something else entirely. A pressure cooker of talent, tension, and ambition. Only the top 4 would qualify for the Porterage Interzonal, the first step toward the World Championship title. And the battle for those spots? Unrelenting. This wasn't just any field. It featured not 1, not 2, but 3 future world champions, Mikhail Tal, Boris Spassky, and Tigran Petrosian. Surrounding them were heavyweights like Geller, Korchnoi, and Bronstein, players who, in any other country, would have ruled undisputed. Tal, the defending champion, the magician from Riga, was on a mission. His rise was meteoric, but right behind him stood a 22-year-old prodigy from Leningrad, Boris Spassky. He was calm, calculated, and hungry. The tournament began perfectly for Boris Spassky. He wasn't just playing well, he was dominating. Wins over giants like Bronstein, Polugayevsky, and Foreman put him at the top of the table early on. By round 14, Spassky wasn't just eyeing an interzonal spot. He had the entire championship in his sights. The dream was alive, within reach. But dreams rarely go unchallenged, and in round 16, the quiet, positional, deadly Tigran Petrosian caught up, then briefly overtook him. Spassky slipped, just slightly, enough to lose the lead, but not his hope. The Interzonal still felt safe. He was still in control. But then, the storm arrived, in the name of Mikhail Tal. After round 17, he caught Petrosian at the top, a co-leader. Out of nowhere, the magician had entered the stage. And then came the final round, the one that would change everything. As the dust settled before the final round, 5 players still had everything to fight for. Standings were Petrosian and Tal on 11.5, Bronstein on 11, and Spassky and Averbach on 10.5. In the final round, Tal faced Spassky, Averbach faced Petrosian, and Bronstein faced Korchnoi. Anything could have happened. Every move now had consequences that echoed far beyond this one event. Petrosian's game started with shock, a rook sacrifice in a tense middle game, but Averbach refused to collapse. The game fizzled out into a 22-move draw. Bronstein drew with Korchnoi, no fireworks, just survival. And with those results in, the equation became clear. A draw would secure Tal the tournament, tying with Petrosian. A draw would give Spassky a playoff with Averbach for the final interzonal spot. One handshake, and both players would get what they wanted. The Tal-Spassky game entered a balanced middle game. Tal, sensing the equilibrium, offered a draw. Spassky refused. He wanted the fourth spot outright. He wanted the win. And as the game was adjourned, it looked like his gamble had worked. Spassky had promising chances. The next morning, a smiling Spassky entered the tournament hall, turned to Petrosian and said, "You will be champion today." The game resumed. Spassky pressed. Move after move he pushed, but Tal defended like a lion. He was calm, unbreakable, and unshakable. And then, in pursuit of victory, Spassky went too far. He overdressed the position, and in a brutal reversal, he lost. Mikhail Tal had won the tournament outright. After the final move was played, the hall erupted. Years later, Garry Kasparov recalled the moment, how Tal's fans rose to their feet, cheering madly for their hero. The magician from Riga had done it again. Already a fan favorite, this victory turned him into a legend. The stage belonged to Tal. The applause, the lights, the momentum, it was all his. And just outside that very hall stood Boris Spassky. He was 21 years old and crushed. Spassky later admitted he cried like a baby. The pressure, the collapse, the lost dream, it all hit at once. Chess can be elegant, but it can also be heartbreakingly brutal. Tal rode that wave of brilliance all the way through the Interzonal, through the candidates, and all the way to the World Championship stage. In 1960, he dethroned Mikhail Botvinnik to become the youngest world champion in history at that time, just 23 years old. Spassky's path? It wasn't as fast. That loss in 1958 wasn't just painful, it delayed his career. It took him 6 more years to get back into the candidates. But he did come back, stronger, smarter, unshakable. And in 1969, Boris Spassky defeated Petrosian to finally become world champion. 2 legends, 2 very different journeys. But it all began with one final round in 1958, a draw refused, a destiny delayed, a champion born. If stories like this move you, subscribe to The Hidden Tactic. If you want to know about one of the most controversial world championship match, check out the description.